Hi guys, welcome to day 6, and we're going to be putting these bits on the back of the car, so stick with us and have a look at what we do. Hi everyone. Now before I get on and install these on the driver's side pontoon, we've got these 3 red capacitors here which actually have a lot of this vintage twisted wire attached to them. Now I've got them all laid up here in the right order of colour, so what I'm going to quickly do on a time-lapse video is solder these on and cable tie them all up so that unit can go on, because once it's in, it's really hard to get access to this M1 to put anything on it. It's very close to this pillar. So I'll do a quick time lapse and I'll be right back. Hi guys, right, my microphone has just died, so I'm going to talk you through the rest of what is going on here. So now we've pretty much finished the red capacitors. I've got the wires on, I managed to solder across the top of all of them, I've lined them all up, I put cable ties on them just to match the film car, and as a complete unit I think they look pretty good. So we'll get them on the car momentarily. I think I'm just going through the fact that I pre-drilled all the holes, so when we come around to it now, I've got all the holes lined up ready to go. It's always good to have a nice clean panel to put this stuff on. So I'm just lining up the hockey puck bases. So I've got 3 of them that are going to be lining up around about there. I've then got these red capacitors sliding in behind them. You kind of have to put the red capacitors in first, actually, just because of how tight it is on that 3rd capacitor. You can see it's right against that pillar. But then we're going to have 3 of the bases about there, and then we're going to have the cooling grid tucked in right behind, and then we're going to have this little aircraft pipe the other way around in that area. So we'll put these all out of the way, and then I will slowly talk you through what we're doing on this side of the pontoon. So first off, we're going to line up the red capacitors with the holes, and it's kind of a bit of a tight area to get into, but because I pre-drilled everything, it makes a big difference. So once that's all lined up, and yeah, we're pretty much good to go. There's a little bit of a curve, luckily enough, where the capacitor is straight on that section. The hockey puck base doesn't sit flat, so I put a little bit of tack so it just sits, it cushions it a little bit, and it will stop a wobble when I screw it down. So I'm using self-tapping stainless steel screws for this, so nothing will rust. And I've drilled a 3mm hole with a, or 3.5mm hole with a 4mm screw, so it should be nice and tight and shouldn't leak. I think I'm just going through putting all the screws in at the minute. It looks a lot better once it's all together. It really does come together quite nicely, and all the small cables, I've got all the correct twisted cable colours in the correct positions, and I've matched it to some photos of the A car, so that's quite handy, and I think it's going to make a big difference when you see it as a finished product. It looks quite good. I'm just slowly popping along at the minute. And I think I'm about to start drilling once I get all these screws in. There we are. At least I picked up a drill. At least I remember what I was doing. Right, I think once we've got these in, I move on to the hockey pucks. What is quite good is you can actually purchase these online. You can find capacitors on eBay. Trying to find 3 identical ones is sometimes a little bit tricky, of the right shape and size, but there are companies that produce these ones. These ones are actually metal machined ones. They're anodized. They've got a printed in 123 on the top, and it's a custom base that and the 3 Canon connectors all screw onto from the underneath, and then when you screw it down, they're solid. They can't loosen because there's nowhere for the screws to go. And they're absolutely fantastic. They're color matched to the A car, a candy red, and even the little labels on top underneath the 3 terminals, they are matched as well to the A car, to the original labels, which, yeah, was really good. Some of the screws you can't get to with a drill, So you kind of need to use what that little tool there was, which was like a tiny little ratchet that you can put screwdriver bits in and stuff. Which, as long as you pre-drilled holes, they screw in quite easily, even though I'm making it look difficult. I think we're nearly done with that. That's me just saying you have to make sure you get every screw nice and tight so that the entire unit is solid. You've got to remember as well that this is open to the elements, so as you're driving along at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, you need to make sure that each one of these things is tight. Same with the wormhole emitter on the top. Once everything is actually bolted on and all connected, this stuff's solid. I think I'm just talking bollocks while we're trying to get the rest of these screws in. If you do have a spare minute, it would also be good to join the Back to the Future Time Machine Builders group on Facebook. They have got so many tips and tricks on that page. Loads of reference photos, loads of people that are making individual items. There are loads of people that have got photos of their builds and where they currently are in building or customizing something. So it's worth a little look and a join if you can. Right, now I'm moving on to the hockey pucks. So these are a solid machined aluminium base, and then the actual top of the hockey puck is it's some sort of audio recording carousel off of something from World War II or in the 50s. These ones are a fantastic copy of the original. If you look at the A car that is in the Peterson Museum and you check these out, they're absolutely identical, even down to all the little rollers on the inside. So I think it was magnetic tape or some sort of audio tape that used to be inside of them. I put tack on the back just because it's at a slight angle when you are fixing it. So hopefully the idea of that little bit of toffee tack on the back or snot will just enable it that when it's screwed down, it's firm and it won't have a wobble. So I think I'm just lining up the holes now, ready to screw these in. There we are, nice and straight and pretty solid anyway. Now, another good feature of these is that each one of these has got a lovely countersink on the top. So it means when you screw those two screws in, that's fixed nice and tight, but it doesn't actually protrude from the face of the panel. So when we screw the black hockey puck down on the top, that sits nice and flush and tight, which is, yeah, just what you want. The hockey puck is a single screw through the center on a coned piece of aluminium. There's a screw that goes through the middle and it holds that whole thing into position. I think as you can see there, once again, I'm showing you a little bit of tack on the back and then lining it up with the screw holes underneath just to make sure they're all nice and straight. So once they're screwed in, which I'll be doing momentarily, you'll be able to see the top of the black hockey puck going on. And I'm trying to apply a decent amount of pressure on these just so I don't jump on the screws or anything. And there's me explaining that they're nice and smooth on the top, so the hockey puck sits flush. Last one. Perfect. Right, now we can get these hockey pucks on. There we go, and there's me doing a little speed video of actually screwing those all in. So they're not in the correct position at the minute of a correct rotation for the hockey pucks just yet, but I can change those at any point. You just loosen that central screw. And then there's me fixing the cooling grid on and sorting out the main, that tiny little fixing clip you have going on. It goes at a 45-degree angle right between the hockey puck and the cooling grid. And then I'm just explaining I put a washer on top of that small cap section, which means when I get the little hose, I can screw the hose onto the bulkhead, which I did earlier, and then screw it on the top. And then once it's all lined up, there you go. You've got the hose, the grid, and everything else all together. Now we've moved over to the other side. This is me trying to get these bits done. I didn't have the green torpedo base yet, so I couldn't fit the green torpedoes yet. That's that little section I just rubbed with my hand. But we do have the blue Mallory capacitors. We have the 2 oil filters or air filters to the left of that, and we have the 2 alley boxes, which I'll be explaining momentarily what they all do. Now, these Malroys are fantastic. They're machined aluminium. They've even got all the correct printed details on them, including all the make and model. And as you can see, they're hollow. They're a very highly made piece of prop. They're not cheap, and they are absolutely fantastic. They match the A car once again, and look really great on the car. They're anodized and they're weatherproof. Now I'm pointing at the aluminium boxes. They're 0 boxes. There's 3 on this car, so that's 1 there. That's the larger one that sits on the bulkhead and has a black heatsink on the top. And then we have those 2, and actually the VSR inside the car is 1. We have a vintage, new, old stock terminal strip that will be going on right on that back section there. And then these are ATO Model 00 muffler filters. You can buy these on eBay or some aircraft parts. I need to clean those little sticker marks off the top, but in general they look quite good, and it's a custom made base that I made on our CNC machine, and yeah, they look pretty cool. There's a nice simple extra, and yeah, the only thing is those ones aren't vintage, so they're missing just 2 very small little nipples that you get on the top. Let me see about there. And I think I'm about to do a quick bolting all that on. I was going to wait and do this all together, but as I'm only missing the green torpedo base and it's being welded with the rest of the engine lid and the vents, that will be coming tomorrow. So I'm going to line this stuff up and I'll actually screw this gear on, and then hopefully it means tomorrow I can do the green torpedo section with the engine lid and the bulkhead pieces. I think I'm just discussing the fact that everything lines up and I've already pre-drilled holes again, and everything's nice and solid once it's all put in. These top sections do pop off, and there you go. So there's me explaining that the top of the head pops off, and we can fix those once we've got our orange cables on, and then I'll explain a little bit of what's on the back. There we are. So there's 3 main sections of the back that go on the bulkhead. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the 0 box, I think. There we are. So we've got the 0 box there in the plate. So it's pressed aluminium. They've stopped making these, so they're really hard to get hold of now. You can get 3D printed ones. You can get other made ones, but yeah, they're really hard to get hold of. This is an original one, so it's great that we've got that. So that gets positioned on that little plate with the black heatsink on it. Then we've got this, which is an orange heating tube from an aircraft. Now this is an aluminium turned version. So this is a lovely solid metal one. It's also anodized dip, so it's not going to lose any paint or chip. It's a lovely heavy solid piece. It's going to sit on the back. I'm going to put a small disc on that alley box so that pipe sits on neatly. And then last but not least, we've got the Janitrol heating unit, which is also out of a aircraft. I think it's a helicopter heating unit. Now that is eventually, yeah, I've got 4 little screws to screw on the side there, so we'll be doing that tomorrow, and that's going to line up and just go inside of that section there. I'm going to put a small spacer so that the orange tube is at the right height, and then we'll get that bolted onto the bulkhead. And yeah, there you go. That's all lined up and how that sort of looks. Once you've got all your cables and everything else on there, there's a terminal that goes on that bulkhead. We've got pipe work coming out that go to the vents and a lot more gear. and also all the wires coming out of the top of the flux boxes that run down. So actually, there's a lot of detail that goes into this, but when it's all on, it will look amazing. I think what I'm talking about now is the fact that we've got no engine lid. That will be coming tomorrow when it's all done at the welders. So tune back in.